school. We train probably at least 100 puppies every year, and we have great success on. We have dogs all the way that are show dogs and service dogs down to just the best house dog you've ever met. So whatever your goals are, we hope that we can help you reach it. And I know I've talked to Diana about your family, and making sure that you guys are set up. And anyone have any current puppy problems? I know you'll be getting a puppy soon, but is anyone having a current puppy issue like potty training or nipping, or Shannon, do you have, how old is your puppy?
Hi there. We just adopted or bought him last week, a few days ago. So he's only 4 weeks old. So he's not coming to us until June.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I started going, oh my gosh, you have a dog that's 4 weeks old at home?
I know, I was like, oh.
I hope you're a breeder.
No.
Well, that's great. We've got some questions in here for you to ask your breeder before bringing your puppy home. This is live and interactive, which means we want you to ask questions along the way, whether it's taking a picture of your setup. Julie, I'd like you to drop your cell phone number. If anyone has a picture or video from home that they'd like to share about their setup, their current setup, this is the platform to ask. We specifically go into people's homes before they even get their dog, and we talk about setting up the right home, the right environment based on children, other dogs in the home, where you spend time, and what you want to do, what's your end goal with your dog. So for people that, like my dad was 76 when he got a puppy, his plan would be really different than we have a family of, that have 3 young children. That training plan's different. Where that dog chills out is going to be different in those 2 homes. So not one setup is exactly the same. So if you've got a personal question, please ask, so that I'm sure you're not the only one that's asking. We want to make sure that you're completely set up. After this workshop, you should be like, oh my God, I need a drink. I feel so much better. I was so, I felt like that before I got my puppy. It took me 2 years to implement an entire plan. I'm a very type A personality, if you can't figure that out. So everything's very structured for me. I work well like that. So I'd like to give that to my clients, having that structure. And then if you go a little bit off, it's okay. You'll be able to understand like when you can and when you need to bring it back in. Like we mentioned, it is recorded. So if you've got to leave, no problem. Should take about, we've been finishing up right at 75 minutes, even with questions. You have a chat button. If you've got a question that's relevant, just go ahead and chat and we'll answer it right then and there. If it's a different topic, we'll probably get to it. So just type it in the chat, and at the very end, Julie will start bringing those questions in and we'll answer them one by one. Go ahead, Julie.
If you'll do me a favor, if you guys will type in the chat your name, if it's different than what's on the screen, your puppy's breed and their age, and where you guys are. So breed, age of your puppy, and where you guys are located. And just while Yo goes through the rest of the presentation.
This workshop is just specifically for you, the human, to get as much information in one sitting. Realize that most people check out about every 7 minutes, so it's okay if you do. It's okay if it's just, you're not getting the information you need to take a little break and come on back. We can't see or hear you. We do have a Facebook page that we recommend joining. It's a private page, and this is where we upload a lot of the classes, including all of our puppy classes, all of our problem prevention, our tips, and all of that goes into our private page. Once you're a member, it doesn't cost anything to be a member of our private Facebook group page. This workshop, along with all of our puppy classes, our beginning puppy classes, are all completely free. This is our way of giving back to the community. Julie and I and our entire training team are very passionate about being a positive reinforcement trainer. And we know that there's a lot of choices out there. So we appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. And we're going to do our best to try to give you as much information so that you feel like you've got a good head start and use us as much as needed to ask your questions. This is the training team. Like Julie mentioned earlier, I'm the owner and founder. We've got Laura. Curtis is my oldest son that just had a young little baby that's 2 months old. So I am a grandmother, believe it or not. And Julie and I together, Julie's the one on the right, is our head trainer. And together we make the curriculum for over 15 classes that we have a month, including some of the workshops. We do train service dog coaching. We live in the city. So when we say a well-trained dog, we call that well-mannered. Well-mannered means a dog that can go down Ocean Boulevard, PCH, Belmont Shores. I live right next to Belmont Shores. So this is my dog. We're typically, you see us out quite a bit. I can leave him, go grab coffee. He doesn't mess with anyone or anything. We've got some clients that just want a house pet, a dog that's really good at home, but most of the family is not going to take the time in training to get the dog up to that level. The last 10 years, dog training has changed quite a bit. When you had a well-mannered dog, it was like you took very little effort. In fact, some people never even train their dog. Well-mannered today is much different because there's just a lot more dogs out in the real world. There's dogs at restaurants. There's dogs in stores. A lot of the Belmont Shore stores are all dog friendly. So in order for a dog to be able to be in that environment, most of the owners need to understand the type of exposure, socialization they need to do for your dog to actually feel safe and comfortable. All the overreactive behavior you see with dogs when they're older is because they don't feel safe. There's something that they missed in this stage right now, this puppy stage. Besides, we call them well-mannered, we have house pet training, and then we have service animal, and then we have therapy dogs. So if you are here today, you dream of having a dog in one of those four, areas. If you're looking for a guard dog, that is not the type of training that we do. However, learning, exposure, and socialization can really help you get to a good start, no matter what you decide to do from that point. What you're going to learn today, so some of the topics is what shapes behavior. What do I need to do now to prevent what happens later? You're going to learn that. The developmental stages. So if your dog is 4 weeks versus 8 weeks versus 16 weeks, what's going on? What do you need to do? We're going to go over an entire schedule and routine, and you can fix and move it. We've got an ebook for you and a PDF so that you can print your own schedule and lay everything out in case you've got more people in your house able to help you. You can label it and you can print multiple copies because every week it's going to alter. It's going to change a little bit. We're going to go into mental and physical exercise strategies and routine based on your dog's breed and age and what your goals are. How to socialize your dog right now, right when you get your puppy at 8 weeks old. What does that look like? What do you need to do? How do you do it safely? You'll have a puppy socialization checklist. Again, that'll be in your ebook. How to manage and prevent your unwanted behaviors. All those things that dogs do as an adult, the jumping, the lunging at another dog on leash, counter surfing, can be prevented at this stage. And then how training works. So a couple questions. If you don't have your dog yet and you're still working with a breeder, we'd like to know what I would ask. Snap or take your phone and just screenshot. These are some of the questions that we ask breeders when we're working with the breeder specifically for our client. We want pictures and videos of the litter. We want to know if your dog is in the litter of their litter mates and you walk in, what do all the dogs do and where does your dog line up? Are they the first one to get food? Are they the one that runs over all of their siblings? Or are they the one that sits back and goes, okay, you guys go first. I'm just going to kind of analyze things. That tells us what type of enrichment mentally and physically you're going to need to do for your dog. This little dog on the right-hand side flew from South Dakota. This is my dad's dog. She was 2 pounds. And the videos from the breeders were she was shaking on a wood floor and she wouldn't move, and her siblings were running all over her. So she was not only scared of surfaces, she was also the runt and very, very fearful. In fact, it was postponed her flight because she was still very afraid of noises and everything. It was something natural, but it was like that was her. A lot of that stuff you're going to learn in a second is passed on from the mother and from other situations too. 2 weeks after they flew her out, so she was 10 weeks when we got her, and within days, this dog was socialized and exposed to surfaces and had a great temperament, and end up now she is definitely a different dog. So just wanted to understand from the breeder what you could find out. Here's what a schedule and routine, here's your bullet points. We have 5 different topics, and then you're going to put this into a routine based on your life. So you've got your potty training routine, you've got your exercise, which is mental and physical exercise. Then you've got your socialization and exposure category, which is how do you make your dog feel good about the world, right? You're going to have that in your training. Tethering, supervision, like when you are in the room, but you just want to be alone for a second. How do you supervise your dog? And then your dog is very, very young, is going to need some alone time. So we're going to talk about those 5 categories. Here's a schedule that we put together for most of our clients. This is what you're going to get in an ebook and a PDF, so you can print it. It won't be color coded because you can just kind of mess things, put it in your own way. But this is our routine. Your dog, for a potty, you typically take the dog through the exact same door, go to the exact same spot. You're going to say the exact same word. And when your puppy goes potty, you're going to reward your dog. That's the potty training routine. And we've got a video for that in just a second. After your dog goes potty, mealtime is usually a way for, especially first thing in the morning, they're going to go potty. You're still not dressed. You haven't had a cup of coffee. You're going to give them their mealtime. We have a couple different recommendations for mealtime. We call ditching the bowl and feeding your dog a different way. And we'll go over that in a second. And then to get the food moving, exercise, play, or the socialization, like going out there and exposing your dog into the, whatever it is that we're going to focus on in that particular day. Afterwards, potty, and then nap time. Dogs need to be alone. Even right now when you're home, they need to be alone, starting off with maybe 15 minutes and gradually increasing that throughout your, every single week, because you're going to eventually have to leave them alone and go back to work or go back and do something. So I started my alone time for my dog at 2 hours and added, because he was already 8 pounds, so he had a bigger bladder, and we added 15 minutes. I had to go back to work. I had to, be okay with leaving him alone. And within weeks, he had a 4-hour alone nap, which was just time for him to like chill out. And so that the owners, like you, can go back and do your own thing, go back to the grocery store and things like that. First couple weeks are rough. And you just repeat this cycle 2, 3, 4 times a day based on your dog's age. Here's what each of the little bullet points look like. So in this video, this is our potty training. So this is a video on how to potty train your dog. We have a longer video on our YouTube channel, so you'll get a link to that tonight or when I get. So you'll want to take your puppy to the same spot each time. Exposing your dog to a harness and leash is one of the very first things you do besides exposing them to their potty and their crate. deciding how your potty station looks, whether it's a backyard. I even did a pool with bark chips for my dog, or one of these lawn, they're called the doggy lawn. They deliver grass patch to your house. It's real grass. If you want to use fake grass, you can use the potty paper, what's it called, paper potty thing, but it's not something we recommend because it's harder to get them off that. So figuring out what that looks like. You can share with us what your ideas are and we'll help you. Like we'll tell you yes or no or why. But you're going to need to set a station up. So it's the area you want them to go potty. So if it's the backyard, don't give them the entire backyard. Give them one spot. No one wants to go in the backyard and have poop everywhere. It's better to bring it over to one area so it's easier to pick up. You're more likely to pick it up if it's in one spot. So figure out where you want them to go to the bathroom. Then you want to put a reinforcement in there. You're going to be paying your dog every time they do something correctly. So grab a mason jar or a baby food jar and place a few treats in there, or just their kibble, whatever it takes to motivate them to continue doing what you like. A trash can so you can quickly pick that poop up. Some dogs learn to eat poop. Some, whether it's from the breeder or it's just something that they learn. So picking poop up right away is going to be important so your dog doesn't enjoy eating it if they like it, and that's not something you want them to practice. You're going to want to have an enzyme cleaner if they have an accident. If it's not all the way in the spot and they're kind of off, you're still going to reward that because at least it's close. They may have not hit the big target, but they were close enough. You're going to still reward it, but you're going to want to clean it up anywhere that they weren't supposed to go. You do want to make sure you're using an enzyme cleaner, and Julie can probably type in a few in the little chat of what she recommends. And then some wipes. Some dogs have diarrhea the first few days, so having wipes ready to clean their butt just gets them used to touch. I also do, for all the puppies, I wipe their paws and their butt every time they go outside. So it just gets them something part of the routine, getting them used to. So once you have your equipment, some dogs don't do well with food, so we have toys to reward them. These are a few of what potty stations or what stations look like. You've got a grass patch inside of an X pen, a water bowl right here, and there's a crate. So those of you who are trying to think of how you want to set up your station, this is a laundry room. There's a door over here. There's just a basic dog bed or a crate in this room. Dogs can go potty anywhere you place a potty spot. So this is a balcony in one of our clients in Long Beach. We place it near the back door, not close to the balcony. So the dog isn't, a lot of puppies are afraid of heights. So we don't usually place it right by the glass, keeping it as close as you can. I really like real grass. It's just so much easier to transition. So those of you that have to go back to work someday, this is once your dog learns how to use this, and we could typically get a dog on a routine within 24 hours if it's the only place you take them to each time. They learn pretty quickly. Some dogs take a little bit longer, but I feel like most of the time it's the management that's making that the reason why a dog might have a little bit of an accident. Here's a good little tip. Water bowl. Place your water bowl next to the area or the door you're going to be using to take your dog potty. If your dog's going to be drinking a lot of water, and when they go to get water, if it's right next to the door, more likely they'll go, oh yeah, by the way, I need to go pee. So great little tip there. Seems to work really well with us. If you never want your dog to have an accident, hopefully you're crate training them. They go from the crate and they immediately go to their potty station. So it's crate, potty, or wherever you're containing your dog, right to the potty. Once your dogs get used to that, okay, they can't do anything else except go potty once they come out of their crate, they begin moving towards the crate on their own. Usually at 8 weeks old, we carry the dog to the potty station. We don't have them leashed until a few days later, and then they understand this is, oh, we're going back to that spot again. So it's crate, potty. Set yourself on a timer. It might be when your dog is awake, every 30 minutes, take your dog over to the potty station. give them an opportunity to go pee. There was a
For really tiny breeds, it may be every 15 minutes. So like if you've got a breed that's under 20 pounds, like little Darla, who's a Boston Terrier here, she goes every 15 minutes on the dot. So knowing that and keeping track of it will be important to help you catch it on time.
And then Pearl was 2 hours. I was like, what is wrong? She had the most amazing bladder. But set a timer. Don't wait for your dog to have an accident. I rarely have a puppy have an accident, and I have, you know, several board and trained dogs here all year round. Here's what I do is I set that timer for 30 minutes. If the dog has an accident within that 30 minutes, I just set the next timer to 20 minutes or 25. I find that magic number. And once you're reliably, your dog is going, you know, every time, then you can start to increase that time to setting the timer to every hour. But the first 3 weeks, set a timer, build a routine. I don't know about you when it comes to exercising and things like that. If you want to break a habit, you got to do few repetitions of the very same thing. So set your timer, 30 minutes, go up or down based on accidents, no accidents. If your dog does not go potty, this is what we get a lot of questions. If your dog doesn't go potty when they've given the opportunity, you are to put your dog back in the crate, or know that you're going to have to keep your dog attached to you because at any moment they're going to have an accident. So we're going to talk in a little bit about our umbilical cord training. It's just, that's the supervision. How do you reliably know that your dog's not going to have an accident? You've got to supervise them. And it's hard to watch your dog the entire time. And you definitely don't want to carry them because they're probably just not going to go pee while they're being carried. But having them with you, supervising, is going to be what it takes to make sure your dog doesn't have an accident. Hopefully you guys all brought home just one puppy and not two. We've had several people come home with 2 puppies. Exercise and bonding with you is one of the very first things that you're going to want to do. So we do what's called human play. Human play is that you get on the floor of your dog's level, no rules, just like they would with their litter mates. They just play. And what you're going to see are 3 things. You're going to observe your dog's body language. You're going to know, I recognize this body play. Look at that play bow. Look at my dog's ears. Look how soft and loose my dog's body is. They want to play. You're also going to notice fear. If you move kind of quickly and your dog backs up, you're going to go, oh, okay, I moved a little bit too fast. So it's important through play, you make some observations. The other thing it does is it teaches your dog to want to be with you. If you have another dog at home, you still want human play. You want your dog to listen to you. You're the one that's going to be shouting out, hey, come here, or here, you know, you're going to be the one talking. So it's important that your dog bonds with you. So become a dog. If you don't have the ability, like my dad couldn't get on the floor, we brought up we have like the fishing pole thing. We did other ways of play, but interacting with your dog is really important.
I also want to encourage, I know a couple of you have kids. We want to make sure that it's the adults in the house that are doing this first, especially with a small puppy, so that we're not accidentally getting too rough, or there's not too many hands and you guys can really supervise. So at least at first, if you have an 8-week-old puppy, before just throwing them in the room with 3 rowdy boys, please take the time for the adults. You want the dogs to listen to one person at a time, all the way on the floor, really bond with them. They'll have the rest of their lives to wrestle with the kids.
Human play is no rules. So you saw in that video, long sleeves, hair up, be a dog. Just take in the information, go, okay, my dog's kind of mouthy. Oh, I just got a hole in my sweater. Like, you just want to make those observations, but keep your dog motivating to want to play with you. And then you'll introduce toys soon after. Training, everything you train and teach your dog to do at this age becomes a default behavior. So for me, I don't do play in the house. Everything that I teach in the house is mostly relaxing, settling. So this is Pearl at 10 weeks old, learning how to settle on a mat. Every time we begin training, I lay out a rug or a blanket. So she jumps in my house when she comes over. She'll go from, I have 6 dog beds. She'll just jump around and go from each dog bed because that's where she feels like, oh, this is where we've been reinforced the most. In this short little video, you see she's actually got this on cue, and I've added movement. I can actually leave her here and go open the refrigerator door. And here in this part of the video, you see me building distance. I come back and I'm rewarding her where I want her to be. Puppies at this age learn really quickly by your reinforcement, where you pay them. I can add distractions to this already. She's only 10 weeks. I can bounce a ball, come back and pay her for staying there. Right? She can also stay there when other dogs walk by. But it's something, whatever you really, really want in the future, you've got to train it now. And it goes the other way too. If your dog is a Labrador Retriever, supposed to be 90 pounds, and as a puppy, he's got 2 paws on you while you're sitting down on the couch and you start loving on him, you're teaching him to jump on you. And it's really hard to reverse that. At this age is where they're really absorbing what they can do. So if you teach your dog to jump on you at 8 weeks, you're going to have a 90-pound dog as an adult dog jumping on you for the rest of your dog's life, and then everyone else. So it's important to get those training drills down now. Oops. We have a lot of smart dogs in our program. Got a lot of doodles actually too. And just, we find that the smarter the dog, the more enrichment, mental enrichment that you need to implement. And it's not just for dogs that are higher on the easier to train. It's for all dogs. You can really get an active, athletic dog to calm down by mentally stimulating them. So this is the way that we feed most of our dogs, is we do interactive feeders. This is a muffin tin. This is a more advanced one. There's her food inside or underneath. So she's got to use her tongue, her teeth, her paws, and she's being exposed to stainless steel. Rubber. She has to take the tennis balls out with her teeth to get her food. Instead of your dog feeding in 30 seconds to a minute, you can prolong feeding for up to 45 minutes, especially when you begin doing the more advanced freezing and things like that. Just even grabbing a simple Kong, I like the big ones because it's a bigger hole, and sticking their kibble in there with just a little bit of something to get them going right on the lip of it. If you did all their feedings like that, it's all that they know. And they look at that Kong going, oh my God, it's mealtime. So ditch the bowl. In this video, we have the blue dot. This is what umbilical cord training looks like. So the first few things that you're going to want to do is expose your dog to a harness and a leash. And we've got some training on that in a little bit. But everywhere you go, when you can't watch your dog with your eyes, have your dog next to you. They learn to follow you. They learn to hang out with you. Reward them for any calm behavior. So if you're having meetings on Zoom like this one throughout the day like we are, place a dog bed right next to your chair. And this is where a lot of good things happens. Ignore your dog's barking and lunging. And every time your dog is relaxed, go over and pet, feed, or verbal praise. Anything that says, good job, puppy, that's what I like. So reward calm behavior. Reward the things that you envision your dog to be, and ignore everything else.
I have a 6-month-old golden doodle that's asleep under me right now, and I don't even need a leash anymore because there's a bed there. He knows that when I sit down, he sits down. And what a great thing to train for when you're done at the end of the day, you want to sit down and have your dog calm down. This is how you start it. This is how you make it a habit.
Yep, absolutely. And creating an alone space. Most of the crate training things, drills that we do, here in the very last part of that video, just sitting down and watching TV at the end of the day and having your dog right by your feet is amazing. And even if one day you're okay with them being on the couch, all puppies should start right here until they're completely house trained, potty trained, right? And not chewing on things. We get several calls of dogs that have chewed an entire couch, an end table. There was a dog that chewed up a big hole in their wooden floor. So if they're not trained to not chew, they shouldn't be up on the couch. And if they're not potty trained. So, okay, let me stop that one. Being alone, your dog needs to sleep. Julie will talk to you a little bit about how much your dog needs, I guess in the next phase, how we're going to talk about the different stages. So we'll go into that. Here's just some more examples of interactive feeders. This one on the right is from Amazon. I don't recommend buying really anything that's like this store-bought puzzles, because they're super easy and dogs just like literally use it one time and you're done. For us, it's okay because we've got multiple dogs that we're working with, so we can just pull out something like that. But better to just use the stuff that you have at home, or get boxes like Amazon boxes and things like that.
Just like a little kid, they're so much happier with the thing it came in than the actual present every single time. So
here's your socialization list. Good luck. No, just kidding. You've got till 12 weeks for your goal would be you have till 12 weeks. Your dog is 12 years old to be positively exposed to most of this list, if you want your dog to be okay as an adult dog going forward for the rest of their life. So if you live like me, I live on the beach, it is crowded and packed. If you don't expose your dog at this age to be okay with bicyclists and other dogs and lawnmowers, fireworks, depending on where you live, they're going to be afraid of it later. If you don't expose them, so lack of zero exposure, or you expose them in a negative way, like for example, you go outside and you didn't see it, but this dog comes up, a big, massive dog comes up and just barks in your dog's face, and you pick up your dog and you walk away, that one experience can put a negative effect on your dog for a long time. Now that stuff can be reversed, but it takes a lot to go back and fix things. So it's easier to just try to make sure everyone has a very positive experience. Exposure isn't touch, by the way. And we get this a lot. Like I can't go outside, I can't touch, I can't go to the dog park. We never say go to the dog park. In fact, we don't even say go to doggy daycare or anything. That is not always positive exposure. Most dogs don't want to be overwhelmed with 100 dogs that they don't know. But seeing a dog across the street walking with their owner and the dog's like, hey, what's up? They don't have to play. In fact, it has changed quite a bit. When we're service animals, we don't say, go be friendly with everyone. We say, are you okay with everyone? I'm not going to have you go meet them, but are you okay with them? So it's totally different than it used to be. So putting your dog in an environment where they're just like all these dogs isn't exposure. It is exposure, but it's not necessarily positive exposure. But putting your dog and carrying them and watching other dogs play and feeding your dog their meal is positive exposure if they're okay with it, right? If they're taking food and they're like, oh, this is pretty cool, but they don't have to play. They don't actually have to interact. Smell, sight, sound is what you can do right now. Touch, human can touch dog, which is helping them with husbandry with their ears, their mouth. They can also touch all the different surfaces with things that you have in your home. here is how we do some of the exposure drills with our board and trained puppies. It is up to the dog whether they're okay with these sounds or whatever it is that we're exposing them to them. So we're watching the dog's body language always. We'll typically use food or play or petting when it comes to reinforcing, like, you like this? You okay with this? Or changing the dog's mind. So encouraging them to like whatever it is that we're trying to present to them. Here's all that your dog thinks. They go, wow, that's really cool. I like it. Or, oh my gosh, it's not safe. We're out of here. And then there's that fear. So it's important that your dog doesn't do the it's not safe. It's better to have your dog understanding that it is safe and for them to try things. So we had that little puppy Pearl. I had her in a small crate, and she was using her paw to try to open the door, and I went to bed and I came out at 2 o'clock in the morning and she was just sitting on the end of the stairs. So she had tried something and it worked. Well, now every night I can hear her trying to open the door. So she figured out, same with those X pens that are 2 feet. Some dogs figure out, they get up and they get out and nothing happens. They're like, ooh, that worked. So exposure is about dogs trying new things. At this age, they're willing to try. After 12 to 14 weeks, they don't really want to try anymore. Now you're having to encourage them to try. So that's what you're going to notice about a young puppy, the willingness to, I'll go check it out. I'm good. If they don't have that, you can share with us that your comments like, hey, my dog's showing little signs of fear. Well, you're going to be having to motivate that dog to go try things out. And then we've got the other side of the spectrum with some puppies that we've worked with where they're not afraid of anything. The breeder has done such a good job that the dog is so confident that they try everything. Well, that is for me and for Julie as a trainer, we absolutely love that. But that is a pet owner's worst nightmare is the dog that has no fear and is willing to jump out of their 4-foot X pen and try this, try that. It's something that you're going to have to understand. And even though it's a headache, it's good for the dog. It's good the way they feel, but you're going to have to manage that because they're going to be trying everything. Anything else on that, Julie? I'm going to play this video. Do you mind talking over this on exposure to new on the sounds?
So we like to take, just like ditching your puppy's bowl for all of those enrichment feeders, this is something that we like to do with our young puppies from day one. If they're staying with us, we want to expose them to sounds that are relevant to the family's lifestyle. So making sure if you live on a farm, your noises are going to be a lot different than Joe who lives right next to the beach, who has parties and loud cars and fireworks all year round. So knowing if you're a hunter and your dog doesn't hear a gunshot until they're much older, they're more likely to be very scared of that. So exposing it at a low level, we've got the volume turned down, we've relaxed our puppies, they're on their place or in their crate, and we're just taking some of their kibble and feeding them through just the sounds playing in the background. And YouTube, if you search it on your phone, you can find any noise. There's any noise. There's llamas neighing on YouTube. So just search what you're looking for, like fireworks or, certain kinds of birds or blenders, that kind of thing. Turn the volume down to a level that your puppy will still enjoy their kibble or the treat that you're giving them, and just play it for about 2 minutes. If there's not so much of if they're not really looking at it, they don't notice it at all, you can turn it up just one level at a time. So if your puppy is staring at the sound from the very beginning, you're gonna turn it down. Even if you can't hear it, remember they probably can. If they're young enough, like these 2 puppies here, no problem. They really don't care, but this is the pre-exposure before we get into the sight and the touch and the smell and all of that. So construction noises, if you live in the city, those jackhammers can be quite scary. Helicopters, if you travel a lot, you want to do plane noises, the takeoff and the engine.
Dogs barking.
Dogs barking,
Children
cats
crying.
meowing. Yeah.
I'll send you a link in an email tonight or today that has a channel that I like is actually made for dogs, and it goes through every 5 minutes and it changes the sounds. I recommend playing this at every mealtime. For me, that's easy because I work from home, but if you're able to, I mean, it's so simple. And it's really the fastest way to expose your dog to a lot of things without actually having to do much training.
And we can't go to a lot of the places that we would normally. So play those soccer game sounds, play those kids parties and all the stuff that you would like to do in a few months when we get back to normal.
So exposure to surfaces. You can use some of the surfaces you have in your home, which is what we do with a lot of our demonstrations. But if your dog, if the breeder didn't have grass, you're going to have to do it pretty slowly. To expose your dog to different surfaces, you really want to be patient and allow your dog to do the movement. Try not to pick them up and force them to take in whatever surface you're trying to do, but you want to go about exposing your dog to your world. So again, we live on the beach, so sand is one of the first things we expose our dog to. I don't take a dog to Dog Beach and expose them, but just their feet in the sand. Here's a little metal, I don't even know what it's called.
Like a grate. Yeah, it's just a metal manhole cover with stuff under it, but it's hollow and it sounds different when you make a little noise on it.
So putting your dog in a room like this. So this is the ones we do in the kitchen, is we'll just pull some random stuff out of the house. This is a ramp made with fake grass. I did the cookie sheet, which is aluminum, right, or stainless steel. And that's just like what they use at the vet when they go and put your dog on a scale. Some dogs are petrified when they get there for the first time. So by taking your meal time and doing a little obstacle course, in fact, this Tuesday class coming up, it's an entire wet obstacle course up on the deck with a bunch of puppies. It's the cutest thing you've ever seen. But get down on the ground. How you do it is you get on the ground with your puppy, lay down, grab their meal time or engage in play, and let them just expose at their own pace, just like they would if they weren't at your house and they were out in with their litter mates. They'd go explore things and they go, okay, that was fun. Let's try that again.
And again, you'll notice that she's walking forward and walking back on her own. There's no pressure or pulling or setting. She's just exploring.
So here's how to do a positive exposure to a crate. One of the first things that you're going to want to do is you come home with your puppy, you go right to the potty area and you do that. Then you come over and you get into the area where your dog is going to be spending most of their time. And that's the first time that they pretty much touch the floor. The rest of the house should be closed off. And the crate should be part of their room, or if you're not using a crate, you can chat with us and we can talk about that later. But if it is the crate and you're not sure if the breeder actually used a crate, and if your dog is at the breeder's, ask them to put a crate and start doing meals in the crate as soon as they can. So no later than 7 weeks. So sit down on the floor next to your puppy or next to the crate, whatever it is you're trying to expose them to, and play. Use your dog's food and toys to play next to whatever it is you're trying to expose them to. So June here is being exposed to a crate. She came very fearful of the crate. So over the next, like the first 2 days, it's all that we did. So we had her we had a board and trade with her for 7 days to get her really comfortable with the crate. It took us less than a day. And
her moms were crying when they called because she was screaming and hating the crate. So it's not natural for a puppy to walk in there and just go, okay, I'll go to sleep.
No, that's not at all. So through repetition, now June not only loves her crate. She literally, the first thing she does when she walks in her house is bolts to the crate and lays down. Like, she just understands that that's where all of her reinforcement is. And this is where she goes even with the door open. She's 5 months now, right? She's 5 months now?
She's 6 months.
She's 6 months.
She's older than Cooper.
Yeah. So by playing next to the crate, you accidentally like drop kibble or drop the toy next to it, not inside it right away. It's really easy to gradually get them into the crate. And we've got a lot more deeper training on crate training, but we just want to show you just a very introduction of how. Here is how we do some exposure to the real world. This is out in front of my house. This is Darla. She's 8 weeks, or she was 7 weeks when they picked her up. So she's less than 8 weeks here. And carrying your pup while you're outdoors is just as fine as trying to, you can't walk them. So carrying them and letting them smell, see, and take in what your world looks like. So if you have a puppy home now, go for a walk in your neighborhood, but just carry her. Bring some of him or her, bring some of your dog's meal and get outside. Get some fresh air if that's something that you can do.
So when your vet says, don't take your puppy out until 4 months old, what they should be saying is don't put your puppy on the ground or near where other dogs have been until they're 4 months. It doesn't mean you can't physically take them outside in another way.
You can use car rides. If you want a dog that travels with you, then you're exposing them to the car young, this age. You can do drive-through. Starbucks has puppuccinos that are completely free. Dog will love the car if there is something happening. This is our body language chart. We talked earlier about recording play when you're doing some human play. Take your phone and camera and put it on and play it in slow motion so you can take a look at what your dog's body language looks like for your particular dog. Play and happy. Well, happy is just a feeling, but content, okay, comfortable is going to look very loose. Ears are loose, tail is loose, the whole body's loose. There's no flexing of the muscles. Sometimes their mouth will be open. You just see soft eyes. That's appropriate. That's okay. If you see that your dog is lip licking, weight is forward or back, or they look at you with their eyes wide open, curved body, weight is back, lunging, barking, that's a sign of stress, fear, anxious, stress. So those are the areas that you're going to want to work on when you're trying to do an exposure drill and you're noticing any of that, then you're going to want to work on that. In this next video, here is Darla with the site. We were doing exposure to the bicyclist. She is being picked up and he switched hands and he tried to give her food and she would normally eat and she didn't. And you see the look of her eyes and you can tell she is a little bit shaky, where earlier she was eating just fine. So here are some on the bottom. Body language of pulling ears back, tail is tucked, lip licking, freezing, shaking, pacing, running, or trying to escape, right? That's all signs that your dog is fearful. Fear is really hard to change, especially later on as an adult. It's the reason why a lot of dogs bite. They're afraid. So it's important to listen to your dog. Do not force your dog to just take it in. Usually doesn't work that way. Sometimes it does. Typically, you want to give it some time. You also want to give your dog some space. If you listen to your dog, if I say, hey, Julie, back up. If she backs up, we have a good relationship. If I ask someone to do something and they don't do it, then I'll normally just talk a little bit louder and so will your dog. If you don't listen to your dog when they say they're afraid, all you're saying is, I'm not listening to you. Give me something else. And that's why your dog will learn to growl, to bark, to spin, to do something else to get your attention to listen to you, to listen to them. It's so quiet when we're teaching. Like, we just got done with a tricks class and everybody's talking. So with this workshop, it is very strange to not have anyone talking to me. So
ask questions along the way if you guys have them. No one's typing questions, but I know it's a lot of information. So
yeah. We use management to stop or prevent any unwanted behavior. Unwanted behavior is what we as humans don't want our dogs to do. Remember, your dog doesn't understand your world, doesn't understand your vocabulary, can't understand one thing you're saying. So it's all very new. They don't know where they're supposed to go to the bathroom. They don't even know that they're supposed to go to the bathroom in a particular spot when you first get them. They don't know that they're not supposed to jump on you. That's just what they've been doing. They don't know they're not supposed to put their mouth on you. So those are all things that you're going to have to teach. Management is the fastest way to teach your dog what you do want them to do. So problem prevention, these are the problems that we hear mostly as adult dogs and you know, as your dogs get a little bit older. Pulling on leash, potty accidents in the house, full food bowl aggression, especially with multiple dogs, jumping, play biting and chewing, and then separation anxiety. These are all problems that could be prevented at puppy stage right now. Use crates, X-pens, leashes, which is tethering, baby gates, muzzles. Those are all preventions. These two pictures just show 3 dogs in one home. One's in a crate, one's in the X-pen, and the one that's house and potty trained is out. That's management. These dogs will not fight with each other, right? These dogs aren't going to guard each other's food. They all have their own space. And here's one of my favorites. And we get complaints about my dog. My 8-week-old dog is biting on my 2-year-old. And it's very common, right, Julie?
yeah. If it's in the room, your puppy or your child probably has their mouth on it. And if they're both in the room at the same time, guaranteed one of them has their mouth on the other one.
Now, we've watched and we've been in programs where there's been a lot of serious bites. And I think one of the most horrific times was watching some bad bites to children. And it typically goes like this, you know, the toddler and the dog are in the same room. The toddler is playing with a toy. The dog wants the toy, or the dog has a toy and the toddler wants it. And that exchange, you know, of the toddler taking the toy or the dog wanting what the toddler has is what can cause a bite.
And it's not always on purpose. Remember, the accidents only take a couple of seconds. They could just be adjusting their mouth, but they're going to catch those little tiny fingers, and that's going to scare both of them.
Yeah, when you play with your dog, you're going to, you know, you'll start playing with ropes and stuff like that. Your dog will accidentally bite you. It's a total accident, but they're trying to get their mouth on the object. So kids, babies, and even, you know, 7 and 8-year-olds, they're not mindful of where they're placing their hands and giving the dog enough room. That takes timing and the ability to do it. It's the dog learning and the human. So management, like an X-pen, can help expose your dog positively to everyone in the family, including your baby, and not get anyone hurt. So when we set up someone's home, we talk about how many kids, how old they are, what you want them to do. This is one of our clients. This is her management. And so when her son is out, the puppies get something to do in their X-pen. And when her son's taking a nap, the puppy is out in the living room tethered to the owner. So that's how you can manage until they're trained. Now, management is just until they're trained. You can live in a house with no X-pens and crates and all of that, but you still have to start with management. So Julie, I'm gonna let you talk about independence training.
So it's so important right now, especially because we're home all of the time, that we're not actually giving our puppies enough space. I think everyone is setting their puppy up for a really big anxiety when we go back to our normal routine, because they're getting unlimited attention and treats and walks that they wouldn't get on a regular routine. So if we set this up and really just give them everything just because we're home, when we go away, life is going to hit them really hard and it's going to be really stressful. So making sure that your puppy, even if you're home, even if you guys want to play, they have a set time where they are alone, and not necessarily in a playpen in the middle of your room where your kids can still walk by and say hi. Alone, like, so they can sensory shut down. Your young puppies under 6 months should be sleeping 18 to 20 hours a day. And I guarantee no one is doing that right now, because we're all home all the time. There's noise, there's TV, we're walking around. No one is sleeping at their best. I know that Yo and I are not. So the puppies are having an especially hard time, because every time you shift or get up to go and get some water, boom, they wake up. And then they got to go through the whole process again. So making sure they have a space, whether it's a crate, which we highly recommend, or even if you just want to set up an X-Pin in a quiet corner of your house away from everything. If you start this when they are young, you can prevent separation anxiety from the start. And separation anxiety transfers into other anxieties through their lifetime. So to keep your puppy stress low and to help protect all of your stuff, make sure that they have a place to go, that it's only their stuff is in there. That's their bedroom. My dog adores her crate. When we travel, that's where she goes, because everything that's in there, guaranteed it's hers. So she's going to play the video about how we do this.
Sorry, ready?
Hi, my name is Dare from Canine Learning Academy. This is Mia. Hi, Mia. She is a 9-week-old mini Aussie Doodle, and we're going to show you how to make the crate an amazing place to be. The key to crate training your puppy is to make the crate the most wonderful place to be. You can do that by creating a positive experience. Give your puppy yummy things to chew on while in the crate, enriching feeders, and even your puppy's meals. Ensure that you give lots of praise when in the crate, and never put your puppy in for punishment. Leave the crate door open in the beginning so your puppy can go in and out as it pleases without feeling trapped. Once your puppy is comfortable with the crate, reward whenever it goes inside. You can start by closing the door for about 10 to 20 seconds and gradually increase the time. Check out our YouTube channel for more videos on how to make the crate an amazing place to be.
So I want to especially stress that your puppy should not just be confined when you leave the house. It should be a process throughout the day. They should be napping just like a baby is, or they will get fussy and they will get mean and they will bite harder and steal your stuff because they're kids and they're upset, but they don't know how to express that. So by keeping a consistent nap schedule where they can shut down and be safe, you're setting them up for success in the next couple of months when we do go back to school and work and whatever normal is going to look like now.
First couple days you bring your puppy home, all of their meals should be in their crate. That is the number one, or whatever their places that you're going to be putting them to sleep. You want to make sure they love it. So anything that's going to happen that's positive is going to happen there. That's the first thing you do. Then you can start training other things. But as far as meals, we recommend the first couple days, all the meals are in the crate. And then you can add, you saw that with a lot of the puppies we train, we use a Kong right away. And that Kong, the sight of the Kong becomes that bridge between, oh my gosh, it's the popsicle time, it's time to get my Kong. So that can go to your crate without actually saying anything. You can just pull something like that out. So give them something to do while they're in there and keep the door open at the beginning and try to get them quickly exposed to it.
Never a punishment, just their bedroom.
So teaching some of the basics, use play to teach a lot of the things that you want to turn into behaviors that you like. The very, very beginning of working with your puppy is being able to like take food from your hand, is that they're comfortable seeing that hand, that human hand. We had a dog that was from a breeder, and the breeder had never touched the dog. So dogs was petrified. It was Whitney, was petrified of the owner's hand. So it took a while to get her even to take food from the hand. So first thing is taking food from your hand, teaching your dog to follow you. So you kind of run around in the house, which I'm going to show you right here. This is a really fun game of hide and seek. And no matter how old your dog is, this is something your dog, I did this yesterday for 30 minutes. I almost passed out in my house playing hide and seek in a 4-story house. You could do it with toys where your dog, you call your dog or you like make a noise if they don't know your name, their name yet. You bring out a toy or you toss their kibble and then you run to another spot. What does this teach your dog? Teaches your dog to follow you, teaches your dog that you are the most fun person in the world. It also teaches your dog to recall. It's the introduction of come when called. So this dog is toy motivated. So we used 2 toys. When she went there, she got 1 toy, you pick up that toy and run to the other room. You don't have to hide. Like with my adult dog who's 6, I actually hide in the closet or hide in the bedroom, and I'm hysterically laughing. And I'm old to be running around, but it is so much fun for both of us. So highly recommend. In our puppy class last Thursday, we had the owners doing this. We were rolling on the ground. It was so much fun.
When your dog runs past you and then all of a sudden turns back and they're like, I found you. It's just like a little kid. It's something to make you both laugh. And I think we could all use a little fun right now.
Absolutely. In our Puppy Start Right class, these are some of the basic foundations that you're going to want to teach your dog. But it's not the first thing you do. The first thing you do is make sure your dog's not afraid of you. Your dog is taking food out of your hands, exposure to the crate, socializing. That is the most important thing you can do, is to teach your dog to be okay in the real world. Because then if you don't, nothing you teach your dog in the house, they're able to do outside. And this is what happens, is a lot of owners get their puppy and they're so excited to teach a sit and a down and a, spin and roll over, but then their dog barks every time they go outside and they can't do anything. So it's important that you're doing all of the socialization and exposure, having a positive experience to the real world before you work on just basic training foundation. That stuff, the vocabulary, they're going to learn, really quickly. The stuff's the easy part. It's getting them used to, because you've got a short window. You only have till 12 weeks, and then the dogs are afraid to try. So here are some of the basics we teach in our puppy program. Their name, watch me, sit down, release, greetings. Like literally in 7 minutes, you can teach 2 different things. So it's how quick it is, especially dogs at this age. It's just important to do the other stuff first. Any questions before we move on, Julie?
Not so far. This is my beautiful dog, Opal Blossom, and she is a wonderful dog, but she has absolutely zero focus when we are outside. And we did not practice a lot of exploration when she was a babe. We jumped right into obedience, and we started our power walks. And so if I could go back and do one thing over, it would make sure that she had more creative and fun time, because all the other stuff comes really easy to her. She's very smart, but you got to let them be a kid while they're a kid, for sure.
Yeah.
So any questions, you guys can go ahead and unmute yourself while we talk about what the next steps of this are and how we can help you with your puppy or puppies.
No questions?
Bueller.
Okay. So here are some of the services that we offer that can help you. If you're in the area, we offer an all-day school where we have a couple buses. They come and pick up your puppy. Each dog is in their own crate. And even if they don't have all their vaccines, we start at 8-week-old puppies, and we take them out in the real world and we do all the training. And then we just bring them back home in the afternoon. So they're socializing, exploring new things, and being trained. Our board and train, the first 2 weeks is rough. So our board and train is pretty popular when owners get a dog and they're like, I can't take this anymore, and it's been 2 days. Here, you do it. So board and train, we take care of the puppy all 24 hours, anywhere from 7 days to 6 months. So we've got 3 different programs that we offer for board and train. So for our service animal skill set, it's a little bit longer. Private coaching and day training, we're doing online coaching and it's working out really, really well. But if you're in the area, we also are still doing some day training where we come over and train the dog for you in your home. Online group classes, we've got a kick butt online program right now with our classes. We have over 15 different options. And then we have an online self-study course, which is like homeschool. You can log in at any time and take the program and modules, at your own pace and on your own time. So here's just a little bit of what we do in our puppy all day school program. It's broken into 4 different subjects. It's loose leash walking, it's foundation behaviors, all of the targeting and recalls. Dogs rotate through those 4 subjects all day long. Each time it's your dog's turn, it's one-on-one with the trainer. So it's not into a group class or anything. Our online classes, this is a list of all of our classes. You'll see the very first class is the Puppies Start Right. It is geared for puppies 8 to 20 weeks. It's every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 o'clock. The class is a rolling start, so start anytime. Every Tuesday is the human training. Every Thursday, your puppy joins you and they're going to be doing what we worked on Tuesday, what you learned. This class is totally free. The reason it's free is because it's our way of helping our community, helping new pet parents. We feel like if we can give them a head start and give them that first 4 weeks, really sets your dog up for just so much more success.
And we would rather have 100 puppies set up for success than the aftermath, which we see a lot of times, which is the reactivity, the fear, the biting. So if you set your dog up now, man, you're going to have it really easy. And once they hit that adult stage and you can travel with them.
And we get a lot of heat from the training world because we're offering this class for free, but it is so important that every owner that has a new puppy starts with socialization, and we feel really passionate about making sure that you get this information and we make it fun. I know that this workshop's a little boring and dry, but we actually have a really good time in class with all of the owners. They can see each other and all of the dogs, and everyone's, got different breeds, and it's really just an amazing opportunity. We launched it 6 or 7 weeks ago free, and we've had some amazing families join us and moved on. The next program is our prep school. This is our signature program. This is where the dogs learn all of the cues, and you can stay in this class as long as you want. But the prep school is teaching you all the basics of the why and then how to do it, and going through it step by step with all of the dogs we have in our school program. The Canine Good Citizen is the AKC CGC prep class. This is for our advanced obedience, for dogs that have gone beyond the basics and now they're working on the ability to be able to do this in public in a high distracted area, so public access. Therapy, service animals, this is the test it takes to see, if they can go on to the next level. Rowdy Rover, if you've got an adult dog or a neighbor that barks, on leash, Rowdy Rover is a class for dogs that are reactive. We used to have a class in the park, and right now we're doing most human training for them. And when we have the park access, we'll be able to open up setups there. And then this morning we had our tricks class. We had puppies in there as young as 9 and 10 weeks old, learning tricks like spin, roll over, sleep. So it's a fun way to bond with your puppy and teach brand new tricks that can be turned into things that you have your dog doing in the future as a little helper. On Sunday morning, we have an open class. It's just a basic coaching class. You just bring your coffee and your dog, and you can chat about a problem you're having if your dog is napping, or you can go, hey, can you watch this and see what I'm doing wrong? I'm trying to get my dog to do a sit and it's just not happening. So now we can coach you right through the screen. And then the workshops. We have some workshops where we're taking topics that owners are going, yo, I keep having the same problem. So we take a topic that we hear regularly and we turn it into a 1-hour workshop. These workshops in May are totally free. We just ended last one with clicker training. This upcoming one has got to do with loose leash walking, the come when called, so recall everywhere and anywhere, and targeting foundation workshop. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
So we are in an unprecedented time where we are so, I'll say, fortunate in the way that we can spend more time with our dogs. And one of our favorite things about being a trainer is how bonded the dogs become with us. You know, there are dogs that we train, 5-6 years ago, they see us across a field and they're like, oh my God, that's my favorite person. So if you have the time to do the training, we've had really wonderful success with our online privates and our coaching through that way, because you want to bond with your dog. You want your dog to listen to you and come when called, and not that our other programs don't set them up, but if you have the opportunity to train your dog, your experience, your life together will be so much more connected than if anyone else does it.
Yeah. Does anyone have a setup, a puppy setup they'd like to share? Or does anyone have a topic that you'd like a question? We are finishing it up, and I'm going to send you again the link to this workshop, as well as our little ebook, so you've got that training schedule. And other than that, is there any other questions?
How long should the crate be used?
You mean for the naps, or in general for like, the crate is typically used for a few things. Crate's usually used to control the dog's bladder so you can potty train them. It's also can be used to house train them, so that the only thing that they're gonna get into is in the crate. Some puppies start at a very small crate and they'll go into a bigger crate. For me personally, I used a crate for approximately a year. And then my dog graduated into more of a room. I had a dog bed, a water bowl, and a baby gate, and he had his own room. And I had pictures of that still. But usually your dog's going to be a crate some way or another. So we still recommend giving them some exposure to a crate, but the crate will be replaced with the dog bed. So wherever you have your crate is, usually once you get rid of the crate and put it in the garage, there'll be a dog bed there, and your dog will learn to pick that up pretty quickly. In fact, a lot of times we'll put the dog bed in the crate and then we remove the crate. And that's, again, after they're potty trained and after they're house trained. House training means they're not chewing up on stuff, or they're not getting into things. We had a dog that was 6-month-old, chocolate lab retriever. The owners were older. They had the dog in a crate, and dog was doing phenomenal. And at 6 months old, the crate was in their room, and they said, can I take the dog out of the crate at night? But during the day, we had just got done with a private session, and they complained that dog's chewing on the corner of the couch. The dog had gotten into counter surfing. And so I said, absolutely not. Your dog's still chewing. Your dog's still not house trained. They're still getting into things. So they're not trained yet. So you still have to keep them in a crate at night, because you're not there supervising them because you're sleeping. Well, that night they let the dog out of the crate. They left the crate door open. The dog took the gentleman's medication. He was on some heart medication, and the dog passed away that night. So dogs,
don't risk it. Just don't. It only, just like your little kids, it only takes a half a second for something really bad or really dangerous to happen. So don't wait for it to be a problem and then you put them in the crate. Just start it now, because whether you travel or you stay in other people's homes or they have to go to the vet, they're going to experience a crate or a small housing situation at some point in their life.
And when we say crate, we mean crate, X-Pen, gate, like any of those management tools. But when they're not potty trained, then the smaller area is what you need. And as their bladder is better, then you can let them have more space. So when a owner complains that their dog went to the bathroom in an X-Pen is a rectangular 8-panel wired or plastic X-Pen, we'll typically say, okay, now we have to make that space smaller. And if the dog doesn't go potty in the space at that amount of space, then we can go back out. So it starts off with crate, then X-Pen, then usually a gate or room, and then it starts moving a little bit at a time. And that can take up to 6 months sometimes, or 2 years, depending on what the dog likes to do, what their mouth is like.
Mine was a chewer. She would chew on the corner of the wall. So it was at least a year, maybe even a year and a half, because I also really like my sleep. She shifts. So it's used for a lot of reasons. I don't see or hear any questions, so please type them in if you guys have them. We really appreciate you coming. If you have other questions, you'll get, should every meal be given in an interactive feeder? If so, until how old?
That's a great question. The interactive feeder, it can be, when we say interactive feeder, we just mean ditch the bowl and feed your dog in a way that makes them mentally think. It could be a wash rag, it could be a Kong. To answer your question, forever, to be modest. Like, my dog gets an interactive feeder for both meals because he's an Aussie doodle. He's bred to run 50 miles a day, and I am not going to walk that long or that far. So mentally draining him is much easier for me physically. But there's a lot of do-it-yourself enrichment plans or feeders that you can use to feed your dog. Scattering their meal in the crate is the same. They can go and like hunt for their food. The very beginning of training, when you have your puppy, you're going to do a little bit of interactive feeding. Like I said, just even putting their food in their crate and letting them go and sniff. You're also going to do a lot of feeding by hand the first few days, just to make sure you guys are bonding. So always bond first. That's the first thing you do when you get your puppy. Then you can say, how about explore that? Is that safe? Then you can come back to me. So make sure you're safe and that you're the safe person for your dog. If you've got multiple people in your household, you're going to have to do that bonding with each person so your dog feels safe. Otherwise, your husband walks in the room and your dog will learn to bark, right? Because he's like, well, I don't know you, so get away from me. So it's important to have everyone in the house. Your dog feels safe with each of them. So there'll be a lot of hand feeding at the very beginning, and taking turns if you want them to bond with everyone. Just feel good, feel safe with everyone.
It's also just 100 opportunities to reinforce good behavior. So if you're, just putting it in a bowl and giving it to them, that's 100 times you could have reinforced a sit or a down or a come or chase or any of those things. So use what you've got. You don't have to add in a bunch of treats and expensive things to their diet. So
CJ, I don't know what your first name is, but I absolutely love that question. And yay, another Aussie doodle parent. Awesome. When you're introducing a young puppy to any other pet in the house, it should all be done with management. It should all be done keeping the dog separate at first, maybe out of the house the very first time. I don't know how active your dog is. A year and a half Aussie Doodle, I'm assuming, is kind of like mine, where they're, you know, a little bit chaotic, but you can make sure that they have a positive experience with each other. You want to give respect to your older dog by not forcing him to deal with the puppy. My dog doesn't do well with puppies when they're all over. And some dogs, after he's, you know, met them, he'll be like, okay, you can do whatever. But that first introduction needs to be pretty spaced out. So putting your puppy in your hand and holding while your older dog is here, and maybe feeding your older dog, you know, some chicken, going, come on, buddy, you're going to like this dude, I promise, would be good. And then when you're ready to put your puppy down, there should be a gate or an X pen keeping that, just like that 2-year-old child with the puppy. That's the kind of exposure. If both dogs kind of see each other, but they don't have to be in each other's face, that's awesome. Wait till your puppy's a little more calm, which can happen in minutes. When your dog comes over and kind of goes, I just want to say hi. That's good. That's a good setup. That's a good way for your dog, your puppy, to go, I want to say hi. It's very calm. But if your puppy's coming out bolting towards your older dog, and your older dog is going to probably get upset, and there's going to be a bad experience there. So you're going to have to watch the body language of your older dog, and you're going to want to watch the body language of your puppy and make sure that there's no fear going on. I'm going to send you a video that talks about this. I've got one that I'm going to send you in our email. So Julie, can you write that down, and I'll make sure that you get that.
Yep. So Jessica, your question about our dog free feeds currently and he paces his food through the day, is that okay? My number one question there is your dog 100% potty trained yet? If not, then free feeding makes their potty routine incredibly unpredictable, but it's also no. So if they're not potty trained, then you have no idea. If you have a set schedule, then you know right after they eat, oh, we got to go outside, and they're going to poop either right before or right after they eat. So it's going to make it really difficult to predict. It's also not how dogs' bodies were meant to be structured.
Yeah.
They're supposed to spike their energy in the first thing in the morning, and then in the evening, they're diurnal. So if you're feeding them throughout the day, you're really kind of messing with that energy up and down the REM cycle, the important release of hormones and all of that good stuff, because you're keeping their energy up, or they are. I also find that free feeding dogs don't typically get in, it's not, they just don't typically get the right amount of nutrients, because if you leave food out all day, they know, well, I can go and get that at any time. There's no risk of me not being, I don't have to take your treats. My food is over there. I don't have to listen to you. So you want your dog to know where food is coming from, that it's a resource, and that it is use it as a reinforcement instead of here, you can have it all the time.
Just like exposing your dog to your couch, your broom, your vacuum cleaner. If it's left out, the dog doesn't care anymore. It has no value. So by putting the food away and only bringing it out to do, you know, whether it's the feeding time, so you're doing interactive feeder to give them some mental stimulation, or you're trying to bond with your dog, it's got meaning. If you're having a hard time, if your dog's not eating when it's time to, just remove it. Leave it out for a few minutes in the area that you're trying to expose your dog to. If it's not picked up in, I'd say 15 minutes. And
I usually give 30 minutes if they're a little on and off, but it just depends on how long your dog takes to eat.
Put it all away and then try again on the next meal. They won't starve. They won't starve. When they get hungry.
Not within 2 days, when they figure out the schedule. Oh, this is meal time. Okay, now I'm going to eat all of my food. I'm going to get the nutrition I need to start my morning. And then they can crash in the afternoon like they're supposed to and get a lot better sleep as well.
If your dog doesn't finish their meal in the morning, you can remove it, put it in the refrigerator or store it, and then you can then try again at lunch, you know, at the next mealtime. Use interactive feeders, use hand feeding. Most dogs prefer eating that way, and dogs that are normally won't eat out of a bowl will totally eat this way. So when you make feeding time fun, then like when you get to like go in there and put the dough together and make pizza, even if you don't like pizza, it's fun. You're going to end up eating it. So making feeding time fun can give your dog the motivation it takes to eat. If they don't finish their meal, it's okay. We've got some dogs that just don't eat all their food. Put it away. They'll be fine, you know, and you'll try again. Some dogs.
I just realized that we do this with little kids too.
Yeah, we do.
Here comes the airplane, or, you know, you bop them on the nose and then you get to play with it a lot. We do the same thing with our little kids to encourage them to eat. We even have macaroni in different shapes. So why wouldn't we make it interesting for these brand new babies that are transitioning off of mom providing food?
Restrain from trying to like give your dog something better. Dogs are so smart. Like JD was doing this, and my dad couldn't figure it out, but he would put out her kibble and she wouldn't eat. And then he would be so concerned, he'd lay out the chicken over the kibble. Well, then she ate the chicken only and left the kibble. Well, she was doing that every single meal. So she was holding out for chicken. So it took about, dogs are really smart. They will train you. If you're not ahead of the game, they will have you doing all kinds of things. So picking them up when you know you're on the phone, if you're on the phone and they bark and you're like, oh gosh, and you go turn around and pick up your dog's like, oh, I got that figured out. So yeah.
They're just as good at training you as
you
think you are at training them. We see it all the time, and it's funny to us because we see it right away, but a lot of owners can't quite connect those dots. So that's what we're here for. We really appreciate you guys coming. We have notes and we have things to send you guys, links and lists. So if there's any other questions, you guys want to find out more information about our training programs,
I'll send you the registration and your email for Tuesday and Thursday's class. I think Brianne is in our class. I think that's in the class. Yeah. All right, guys, have a wonderful Saturday. We have a coaching session tomorrow. If you want to bring your puppy so we can see them Sunday, we'll send you the link to that. Other than that, have a wonderful rest of your day. And we appreciate you being here. Appreciate you taking the time for your puppy. That is awesome. Great start. You guys are going to be amazing pet parents.
All right. Have a really good day. Thanks,
guys. Bye, Curtis. Bye, Julie.